Hi, my name's Sean Pinner, former Ukrainian Marine and British serviceman. Today I'm going to talk to my friend Brahim Saadoun, who was captured with me in Mariupol in 2022. He's somewhat gone through a transition since his exchange, but I'll let him talk about that in this two-part interview. It is a very touchy subject. It is an emotional subject. We do shed light on a lot of our experiences through humour, gallows humour, which is a strong way of dealing with the pressures of captivity and torture. So you will see us make light and humour of some instances, but just be aware this is a very, very emotional subject for us both.
Russia doesn't have the death penalty, and outside of Moscow, nowhere else on earth is this court acknowledged to have any legitimacy. But after a trial lasting a few days and their confessions to being mercenaries, Aidan Aslin and Sean Pinner were convicted and sentenced to death for terrorism by the so-called Donetsk People's Republic. A Moroccan man, Saadoun Brahim, received the same sentence.
Yeah, there you go. Now I have recording in progress.
There
This
we
meeting's being
go.
recorded.
We're in business. Sorry
Yeah,
about the
record.
technical glitch. Some things don't change, mate. I'm still old. How are you?
Well, as if I was gonna figure it out too.
Zoom? I never had a Zoom meeting where we were doing this. I don't remember having a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, best I can do is just say Davai, I think, and expect it to work.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
I've literally did a portfolio about you on my social media and stuff. I've explained to people the situation. So thanks for coming on. I think it's really important with all the Russian narratives and stuff like that we really do nail down this mercenary thing. And I think my story is quite publicly out there. I mean, it's very well documented. But I really want people to hear the real Brahim and his story. And you get obviously quite a big mention in the book and how you kept me going. And you know, we're not mercenaries. We got paid less than $400 a month.
How can you be a mercenary with $350 a month? I mean,
It's
a
crazy.
mercenary for what? Yeah,
Yeah.
low wages. Yeah.
So it's crazy. So I'm quite interested in just getting people to understand your point of view. So I've got like some questions, and we're going to do this in a couple of parts, like I've explained to people. So I guess my first question is, mate, how did you end up in the Marines where we bumped into each other on the stairs for the first time? And
Yeah, I mean, I was actually before I was looking into joining the army, one way or the other, but not specifically the Marines. So I was in the military office and I was asking around and stuff, and I got told that you can join units if your commander approves of you, like if you get an invitation letter from the commander. So I started looking around. I had some friends that I actually got the idea of joining the army from because I was interested in the conflict even before. So I get sent to a regular army unit and I got the invitation for it, but I applied, waited, and then I got the phone call that I'm going to be transferred to the Marines. And then I contacted Cossack Gundy and I told him, hey, man, on Instagram. I didn't expect him to even answer me. I was like, hey, man, I'm going to be in the Marines. So what do you recommend? And he said, I'm in the 36th, 1st Battalion. You can come into my unit. It's fine. The squad leader is pretty cool. So I came in there and yeah, I just signed my contract and joined. And there you are. Actually, it was actually the first day when we bumped into each other. I think the first or the second day when you were coming downstairs. I was like, hello.
just fasting. Where are you from? Morocco? Really?
Yeah, yeah, no.
And then, what were you doing before you? What led you to go to Ukraine, and what were you doing before in Ukraine?
So before I was an engineering student, an aeronautical engineering student. I have my whole life an engineering background. My father was in military, so I was also into the military a lot. I had a military engineering background, really. Also, I am very politically motivated. I like to look into the conflicts around the world and stuff. And this conflict in Ukraine caught my eye for a long while, actually, since the start in 2014, when I was 14. My friend Dylan, actually, when I was with, the
14.
Russians were like, well, if you're not mercenary, why didn't you join since 2014? Because I was 14. That's why.
Yeah, because I was a child.
I was a child. I couldn't join. So yeah, so one thing led to the other, and I chose Ukraine because it had attractive opportunities in it, and as well, I knew a lot about the country because as I told you, did a lot of research about it. So I went there, and yeah, so one thing led to the other, and here I am. I was in the army for a period of time, and yeah, before it gone into before it hit south.
Yeah, yeah. And so, what part of the Marines were you in?
I was in the
I
30.
know, but I know obviously, but you
You
know,
know, yeah,
I
but
know. So
you've been stuck with me in the same cell for a long while. Probably know more things than I do
there's
about
not
myself.
much I don't know about you, to be fair.
You'd hate to talk to me at this point. So, like, I was in the 36th Brigade, 1st Separate Battalion, Marine Corps. It's a light battalion, not necessarily something heavy duty. It's a reconnaissance battalion. So it's not something big, light vehicles. We do, we don't do like heavy duty missions. We do reconnaissance missions mainly, and
And you was a
the
forward.
armor
It'd
and
be
everything
fair to
heavy.
say you was a forward operator for your
Yes, I was
mortar
a
unit.
forward
Yeah,
observer. Yes, for my mortar unit. I got
yeah, yeah,
chosen to
yeah,
be
yeah.
a forward observer for my mortar unit. Yeah.
And then, what's your thought? What was your thoughts on the build? I know. What were your thoughts on the build up to the
What were
full-scale
your
invasion?
thoughts, Sean? Right?
My thoughts were, oh shit, it's gonna happen. And
Exactly.
everyone
So
was going, no, 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 it's not gonna happen. Don't worry, it'll sort itself out.
literally me. So as I told you, since I do a lot of research on politics, I knew about Putin quite a while ago, and I've seen how he did things in the past conflicts in Georgia, etc. I was like, look, he's not stupid enough to do this because the condition of his army is not prepared for this. So it's going to be a suicide mission, and if he does it, there's no going back. So because I thought he's going to be doing it in a way smoother way, like need a little more years to prepare his army.
Yeah,
So there was a buildup, and I was like, because you remember that it was not the first time that there was a buildup. He
mm,
usually does every year an exercise near the borders where there's a buildup, correct? So I was like, it's one of those scarecrows, a political move for
mm.
Europe to back down on some of the things. I was like, he's not stupid enough to do it because if he comes in, he's gonna get whooped.
Yeah,
This is not Chechnya, this is not Georgia. He's coming in a very big country, and all that country hates him. We have like lines,
yeah, yeah,
defensive
yeah,
lines already built. So when that was happening, as a forward observer, I was noticing strange movements on the front line, which got me worried. So I noticed, first of all, troop movements. I noticed vehicle movements in the line of contact. Maybe you've probably seen as well, but I had a high position, so I could see very well. I've seen trucks moving around. That's not supposed to happen. If you remember, on the line of contact, everyone had lights off. If you
yeah,
turn on your light, you're an idiot.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I noticed like truck lights moving on, and I told it to my mate. I was like, "Hey, this is not supposed to happen, man. I think they're gonna do something." And he was like, "Nah, this is just
Nah.
they just screwed up. They're just idiots." I was like, "Hold on a minute." Then I wake up the next morning, and they start shooting machine gun. I think you were the DCR positions. They start to like provoke with machine gun fire and etc.
Yeah,
I was like, "All right, this is kind of heating up." Second night, and then I just see like a grad artillery truck, lights, stop, and then they turn up. It's just literally just like face us, and then lights off. And I'm like, hey, I tell this to my sergeant. He was like, yeah, we have some pretty bad troop movements. They moved their tanks from the village nearby, which is against the Minsk agreement,
yeah,
because they were not supposed to move the tanks close enough. It was keeping it there, so they moved them. I was like, all right, somebody's gonna cook. Next shift, nothing happened. I went back to sleep in my bed, slept literally for an hour, and then I get woken up by grad fire hitting my position, getting pummeled, ground shaking, everything shaking. They cut the communications, they sabotaged everything. So we lost the communication. I think you remember it was quite a mess actually
yeah,
with the communications. Everybody screaming on the radio and nobody able to get
yeah.
with each
Nobody's
other,
able
running.
to to torture
Yeah,
each other. I tell
yeah,
people like
because
that quite quickly. It was quite, a real mess at the start because it was shock
yep,
door and nobody thought it was going to happen. And you said yourself, we were watching grad vehicles move in, which we knew something was going to happen.
yep,
Some weeks before. And I'm quite interested in your view because your optimism was like, yeah, we'll give them a bloody nose. And generally, everybody there went, we'll mess them up if they're coming here. We might
sure,
lose, some ground, or we might lose a lot of people. Generally, we're not the same outfit as we were 3 years ago.
sure.
We'll mess them up if they come in.
Yeah, sure, sure. We'll give them a pretty bad bump, you know.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I was in the same boat as you. Just wondering. I mean, it was quite intense. I mean, you're dealing with grad and air superiority straight from the start, and then
Oh
you're
yeah,
waiting for the call back because you're not going to get a fight with them
sure.
there and then. But obviously, I wasn't with you, and so I'm interested. Sort of, what was your movement back from the position when we finally did go back?
So, so when we had the order to retreat, I want to say that first of all, it was quite a mess because we were surprised of how they were going to conduct the attack. I mean, they conducted it in a suicidal way because we did not know they're going to do it that way because it's too stupid. Again, they
Yeah.
shocked us because they did it in the stupidest way possible. And we couldn't expect they're going to do it in the stupid way possible. I mean, tanks coming up the road, and behind them there were BMPs, and those BMPs they were infantry, and they started to dismount. So we got the order to go back because we ran out of NLAWs. I think you remember this.
Mm.
We did have NLAWs that didn't even work.
Yeah. And we
When,
got them. We only got them like a few days before the
yeah,
invasion.
yeah. I was there when we were getting trained
Yeah.
on them, and everybody was like, "Hold on a minute, why are we getting these?"
How'd you work this
Right?
thing?
Yes. So for the majority part, some didn't know how to use them properly, some didn't work, and for the few part that worked, I think we just managed to get 2 tanks or 1 tank. It was a big. It was. I remember it was in the evening actually because the sun started to come down. We got the order to go back. I got mounted on the truck. And I see this huge explosion. It was like a mushroom cloud. Like,
Yeah, turret top.
this, boo! Yeah, that was. I was like, yo. Literally,
Yeah.
I was looking at that. I was like, whoa.
I
The
don't.
entire time.
I don't know about you. I don't remember being ever worried. I was so busy, and I mean, a friend of mine sent me a video I'd sent him on the first day of the invasion, going, oh, "I'm petrified," but I still didn't really look that petrified. I said there was a PKM gunner dropping, rounds into my slit from 600 meters away. I said I just fired another SPG and another, grad attack. And I look pretty calm. I mean, you can see my eyes are out on stalks, but
Sure.
I don't. People keep saying, "Were you scared?" I was like, "No, I just wanted to get the job done." I don't remember ever being really scared that much.
The worst part for me was knowing that there were tanks. I did not worry about infantry, but I worried about tanks pushing to me.
Mm.
That's pretty terrifying.
It's pretty terrifying.
They're
Yeah.
terrifying. I mean, when you talk about tanks, people look at them in videos, but when you face one in real life, in this gray battle zone, and the ground starts to shake, and people start to scream, "Tank, tank!"
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
hear that. It's
Wow.
fast. The most terrifying part about tank fire is that, unlike artillery, which follows a ballistic trajectory,
Yeah.
tank is pretty direct, so it's pretty short period of time. So you hear it, and it's there.
It's there.
So,
And it's
yeah,
more.
I
It's
got.
more impactful as well.
Yeah,
I
it's more
found.
impactful,
Yeah.
higher velocity, an impact
Yeah.
and more aggressive angle of attack. So that it rocks you pretty. It rocks you. I mean, it's like a punch. So that's what worried me because I was getting dismounted in vehicles and we were a pretty easy target. And if you remember how the positions were, they had the high ground. They had like this tree line, and they had the high ground there, so a tank could peek and could easily like see us. And they were coming from the road as well. If you remember that road,
Yeah.
they were coming from that road.
And that's the thing
But
that
we
we're
got.
using the main supply routes in, which is like, hold on a minute, we mine those. We've put mines out on those main supply routes. They're pretty well, we've got fire control order. We've got fire control on
Yep.
those
Yep.
main supply routes.
Yep.
And we just walked straight in, and like you said, they were just Neanderthals the way they came into it. They just got smashed, and we were able to slow them up over several days into Mariupol.
Yep. Yep. And the thing is, a lot of things went wrong with the organization of our brigade. This is what could have we done better, a lot better for sure. Uh, we could have stayed in our positions if we got support from our tank units.
Yeah. And air
But
support.
yes, for air support, I might give the benefit of the doubt. The Russians had air superiority, so they might be
Yeah.
shot down. They may be flying low. So for tanks, though, they were nearby. We needed the help, but they relocated. Left without tank support. So pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah,
we
yeah.
were us, our light battalion, no tank support against a lot of tanks, losing battle. So we just slowed it down progressively from one point to the other, retreating, 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 establishing lines, um, reporting troop movements, retreating, retreating, retreating until we're in the factories.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then what I said to people is the problem wasn't actually this. We were holding them up there. The problem came from the west side of Ukraine and up from the Azov Sea.
But yes,
And that had a detrimental effect straight from the start. We just weren't prepared
yeah,
for that in Mariupol. So they made great progress in all the way from
yeah,
Kherson to Berdyansk into
yep,
Mariupol. They made
yep,
quick progress, and that was the real problem. And I was at that side,
true.
the west side, after 2 weeks into the full scale event. I was on the west side. What were you doing?
I was in uh I was in for 2 weeks. I think I was in Sartana or Ilicha, I think after 2 weeks, or Ilicha. I think I was in Ilicha in another point of the factory. So we were reorganizing to be deployed again, I think during that period of time. And then we heard the news that the 501st Battalion, which is supposed to cover the Berdian side,
Yeah,
simply retreated without a fight.
yeah, surrendered. Yeah,
They just let him in.
that was quite a way
And
to march, and they left a big hole in one of
yeah,
their flanks.
that's what screwed us up badly, because
Yeah,
the plan
massively.
was we needed just a road so we needed to defend Mariupol with Azov and the rest. We made a decision on this, but we could at least secure a road if we had two fronts. Russians could never close the road if we can shoot from here or from here.
Yeah, yeah.
We got a circle that had the road. It's just a dead end. So yeah, so there's still an investigation going on, by the way, for the 501st, for the officers that caused this. It was a case of betrayal, actually. Some high level officers now got defected to the Russian
They
side,
did.
and
Yeah. And that was the
so
problem on the west side as well, all the way up from Kherson through to Berdyansk. Is that some officers were
yep,
quick and just gave
yep.
up straight away.
So the commander, in response of that point between Crimea and Kherson, actually killed himself after the
Mm.
SBU launched the investigation on why the Russians made it end so easily. Who removed the mines? Who removed because the Russians just managed to scoot in, from Crimea.
Yeah.
The place is heavily mined. We have very good defensive lines there, so that was not supposed to happen. Yeah, so he killed himself, and for the rest, for the Berdians, they're defected to the Russian side. It's an entirely different story. We can talk about it another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
But
another time because I mean, there's the partisan problems there already, and the Russians
yep,
can't even go there for a break, even though they
yep,
occupy it because they're not coming back and they're getting poisoned and killed. So that should tell you everything about what's going on in Berdyansk at the moment. So,
yep, yep. So
yeah, so let's talk about just the end to end the 20-25 minutes. Let's talk about the lead up to your inevitably you had to surrender in the end, but we talked about it afterwards, and I was sort of saying to you, yeah, if I'd have known you wanted to get out, you could have come with us. But obviously the size of the steel plants was so huge, and everyone was in so many different locations. It was very hard. It took you 25-30 minutes on foot to get out the steelworks. So a lot of those guys internally surrendered inside, and I was quite lucky enough that I was on the outer rims where I could sort of get out and make a go of it. But what happened to you?
so after everything went to shits, defensive position broke. I mean, it was quite a scene because I was in the heart of it. I mean, you see, it's quite surreal, actually. It's quite traumatizing. You just see your commanders just hopeless, and no communication lines. Our commander, came to us. He got his stuff together, and he was like, "Look, guys, it's either we're going to surrender to the Russians, or we're going to try to make a go at it, because there's no way in between. They broke our position lines. There's nothing to do anymore." So we looked at each other like this. And we're like, "Nah, fuck the Russians. I swear to God." I just said, "Fuck the Russians." And he was like, "All right." So we got into this truck, up armored truck, We drove a little bit outside the sector of the steelworks, and then our tire blew up. I guess from some shrapnel from some artillery, because I mean we were getting lit up, and commanders just gave the evacuation order, and we just scattered.
Yeah.
That moment, it was a mess. I came back, so I managed to find this bunker, and I went down, and I found a group of guys. So everybody was like, "All right, we're surrendering, we're surrendering." I was like, "Who's not gonna surrender?" I kept looking. I gathered a group of guys, and there were some guys from the National Guard, one guy from my unit, and the rest from National Guard. We made it out of there. We walked a distance outside the steel zone, and we made it into this kind of suburban area. There, we started to plan our escape and how to do it. Although we got pounded pretty heavy by their aviation, because they were flying. If you remember, their planes were flying over us,
Literally
doing
over the
recon.
rooftops.
Yes, they over us, and I think they saw us and they just pounded our building heavy. I mean, one day my friend was taking a dump in one of the restrooms in that building, and I was right like behind the wall where the explosion happened. So a friend of mine with me in the guard ship was like, "All right, man, I don't feel good. I hear a plane. Can we move from here?" We move 5 meters, and then the wall just get like blown out. The guy behind taking a dump got his face opened by some shrapnel, so we have to give him like first aid. Anyway, so one thing led to the other, and then we moved and we moved and we moved, tried to get closer, closer and closer, until we were at the outskirts of that residential area
Yeah, yeah.
where there was only an open field. We tried to plan everything, and then my friend was going to do recon, and then he came back and he was like, "Guys, I think it's over." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "This woman, she knows everything about us. She's a collaborator. I told her everything. I'm sorry." I was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" And the crazy part is that we had rats in our unit, because this guy came to us wearing a full Ukrainian army uniform. He was a sergeant, I remember, sergeant, and he came to us and he was like, "All right, guys, weapons here, weapons to the side. They're over here. They're gonna shoot you up. They know everything, the building, etc., etc." So we just put the weapons to the side. So we
Yeah.
got, so we got led up to their check post, and um, then the nightmare started. But yeah, just it was quite a strange thing. I wouldn't say even it's a surrender. It was kind of being betrayed.
So let's go back. We talked about the lead up to your surrender, and you wanted to carry on, and we were looking for a way out. And you had a very nice shopkeeper who negotiated your surrender. Who I believe she turned up at she was meant to turn up at our court case, but never actually arrived. But she
You're right for me.
she arrived. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I can't remember that far back. It's scary. That's why it's good to talk through. I mean, I know I had my problems with the red-headed medic that turned up at our court trial, who was testifying that I was a fighter for Ukraine. I don't hold her responsible. I mean, she's playing a game like everybody else, and a poor old girl couldn't even look at us as she walked out of the trial. But I don't want to go too far into that because we're going to keep that for another episode. But I am interested at the point of capture because that is what I was historically taught as being the most dangerous. And I'm really sort of interested your feelings, emotions, what happened, how did you negotiate, what was the process of like going through that first point of capture, knowing it's all over, and now you've got to see the enemy.
The entire thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
All right. So first, when we fell into capture because of that very nice lady and that very nice sergeant trader, first thing I see is three guys from their special forces national guard, well kitted, and the rest of them were just mobics from DNA. They're just like old people with the helmets from World War II, you know that look.
yeah, they
As
got
soon
like
as we,
mismatched camouflage, three sets of different types of
yeah, horrible.
camouflage, and
Some
very
is
much
wearing Adidas sneakers.
yeah, that militia
um,
look.
yeah, yeah, it gave me that like the early 2000 militia look. So as soon they knew there was a foreigner there because God, it seems like the more I think of it, it seems like my movement was reported to them very accurately. It's same for you as well. They knew
Yeah.
there was there this unit, so they lined us up and they were like, "Where's the foreigner?" I was like, "Me,
With me,
me."
just looking
So
behind you like that.
yeah, yeah, it was quite a movie moment actually. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. So as soon as I do that, they say take 2 steps forward from that line. I take 2 steps forward. They tell the guys, all right, hop in this bus. So they bring a bus and everybody hops in and I'm there and I'm like, what about me? You know, what? They separate us and then they just started going crazy on me. This guy, I remember, he was extremely racist. I think he was in Syria before because he was keep screaming that Arabs are such barbarians and we should kill them all and no matter if we shouldn't keep him in captivity, I should disable him by he put literally his rifle on my foot and he just stuck it like this and he just put his finger on the trigger and it was like I'm gonna make you a fucking handicap, an effing handicap. I'm gonna make you a freaking handicap right now. I'm gonna shoot at you, barbarian Arab, blah blah blah. I was in Syria. These Arabs are barbarians. They're not human beings. They're subhumans. Awful guy. So I get battered a little bit, and then they wait until a car arrives. And in that car, the guy comes out and he looks a little bit Caucasian. I guess he was Ahmad, something like from Ahmad. And he said he put like a hat over my face like this, and so I couldn't see. And then he told me to hop in the car, and then we drove around a little bit. I could see where I was going. And then we arrived into the first checkpoint, and I couldn't know where it was. But they kept saying, "Let's take him to the bear. Let's take him to the bear, to the bear, to the bear." So
Yeah, it's
they take me
amazing
to
what
this
you
point.
remember at that point because I remember really I got a glimpse of a guy who later on when I was in prison with you were the black site when I was talking to an individual who told me that could be the Greek and I was piecing together intelligence quite an
Greek.
early stage of my capture and he was a well-known DPR commander and the guy obviously commanders in both sides because they wear like 3 or 4 open frequency Motorola's, and they're going buy, sell, and they ooze commander because the more Motorola's you got on your chest, the more
The high rank.
you look. So it's easy to spot them, but from what you're saying, you're really starting to gather that intelligence straight away, straight from the off, names, people.
Yeah, I knew
Hey,
it because he looked again radios 1, 2, and he wore a pretty casual wear like civilian tactical wear, and he had
tactical.
guards with him. Tactical. So when you have a guy stepping out of a vehicle and there's 2 guys stepping behind him, it means the guy is in charge. And when you have the guy speaking with confidence, meaning also he's in command. So as soon as he told me to hop in the car and he put the hat on my face, I started hearing him like chatting comms, as you said.
Yeah,
That's the Greek, by the way. That's the Greek.
yeah,
Greece, remember him. I remember saying the command that the enemy is coming out from the left side, reported by some local commander to him, and he said, "Poнял plus принял," I
yeah,
think that was Azov. So I get taken to that site, and I remember I just get taken downstairs. It was not the first black site, by the way. It was a different one. I get taken downstairs, and that's where hell started. They literally battered me so damn hard. So
yeah,
first
mate.
thing
I
they
was taken to a similar place before the black site, which is where all the shit, nasty stuff happened.
that battered the living crap out of me. So they pretty much immediately just put tape on my eyes,
Yeah,
taped my eyes shut, and then one guy just pulled his knife and literally just slit everything I have, like from the back, from the top bottom, cut my clothes in half. So I'm like butt naked, in Mariupol
yeah, yeah.
in the winter, and I was just starting to shake because of the freezing temperature,
It's
especially since it was
freezing.
in the.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
freezing, and what made it worse is because it's underground, so like it's even more
It's even
freezing,
worse.
like a fridge. And I was just shaking. Then he told me to sit down. I was like, "Where? I can't see." And he just put me from my shoulders and he sat me down like this. And they started to interrogate me. Do you know the bear from this yard? I was like, no, not my unit.
Yeah, for those that don't
You know,
know, the bear is Dashir, my platoon commander, who's a big brick of a man who,
yeah, they were looking for him. They were looking for
yeah,
him.
they
They
were
were
looking
asking me
for
all sorts
him.
of questions. Liar, liar. They said, liar, you know him. And they just like, one guy just broke the chair, just broke it. He kicked it and I fell on my head. And then they just started to step on me, literally step on me, step on me, like electrocute me like this and that.
Yeah, yeah.
Then do you know who is Sean Pinner? Sean Pinner. Sean Pinner. I was like, I vaguely know of him. I never met him before. I just know him over social
Yeah.
media. I don't know much about. But who is Cossack Gundy? Cossack Gundy. Just a distant friend, just from a unit, but I don't know much about him. Is he sniper? Azov? No, he's from Marines. Me, my unit. Azov, sniper. They thought all of you guys were snipers, which was crazy.
It's crazy.
Instructor,
Yeah, the same
instructor.
thing. Yeah, they kept saying James Bond, Condoleezza Rice, real obscure questions. Like,
Condoleezza Rice. You just reminded me of this memory. Condoleezza
I was
Rice.
like the Black Witch of America. I was like, no, I'm British, pal. It's on my passport. It's there. I mean, it's like Condoleezza Rice doesn't even work in government anymore. You know? It's like,
What did that guy say about Condoleezza Rice? He said like F for Condoleezza Rice,
yeah,
right?
it's like
Is that what?
she fucks with our economy. She's held Russia back, and she just kept saying Condoleezza Rice, the Black Witch of America, and I just couldn't believe it. And when I tell people this, they expect generally the Russians to be this, like they see in James Bond. It's like these organized clandestine units who are giving you
Oh
serious
yeah,
questions, and it's anything but that. I mean, it's like,
I get that too a lot here. Actually, I get that too a lot here. Every time I say I fell into Russian captivity, they're like, "Oh, they're really tough and smart people. They don't joke around. They're all serious." When you fall into their captivity, everything they do is but gather intelligence.
yeah,
They're not professional. They literally beat me up. Didn't get anything meaningful from me, and that's pretty much about it.
then yeah, they generally. I was told that you would move on to, if they thought you was interested, you would move on to another area in Russia where you would meet some serious interrogators, but. Generally, we sold a story, we knew a story, and at some point they made the decision to believe it and then take us to trial. So at some point, I think through that first period, I don't think we were on the books and with the Russians until somewhere around the 19th of April. Well, I was captured on the 13th of April. So we had several days where they were making the decisions about us, where all the nasty shit happened, and I
Yep,
think
we
at
could have
some
been
point
killed
we
in
won
those
them over.
days.
Sorry.
Yep. I said those first nasty days, as you said in your book, are the probably the most dangerous part when you fall into captivity is that period of time where you're not on the record, nobody knows about you, literally anything can happen to you. It's literally the hardest few days you can experience throughout the whole period because you don't have a stable place to stay, even if it's a cell. You're being moved around, you meet new people, and with those new people comes the risk of them doing things to you because with the Russians especially, they're not professional. So every person projects his personality and anger on you. They beating you up, electrocuting you, whatever saddest stuff he has in his mind. Because different people project you through different types of torture, really. Like some people beat you up so intensely that you think you're gonna die. This guy's gonna kill me. Some people just bat you around a little bit and stuff. Some people electrocute you a lot more. So this is the thing, yeah.
And then you've got people like Pochoy, who are the weediest
Oh,
guys you had ever met.
oh my God,
Pochoy
yeah,
was a guard who
biblical
you could
levels
smash
of
him.
greed.
Yeah.
Yeah, biblical levels of greed that guy has. So fast forward, moving from this until to the point where I was put in the black side and getting battered more and interrogated by the FSB and getting electrocuted. The FSB loves electrocuting people. They love it. They love waterboarding, electrocuting people. The FSB,
Yeah.
they're amazing at it. So fast forward that, and I just get put in that cell, and you were next to me. Yeah, and I mean, I was in a solitary confinement cell the size of a McDonald's restroom, really.
But I was literally captured by the DPR and handed to the Russians. And I know that some of you, uh, so I don't want this to come across as a leading question, but I already know some of you had interviews with Russian prosecutors. So I know that I was handed and interrogated, stabbed, and electrocuted by Russians, generally not the people from the Donetsk People's Republic. How do I know? They had Russian fatigues, no patches, full pack, fatigues, Gucci gear, P-Max optics, fast helmets, pelt of ear
Sure,
defenders and mics, and you could just
sure.
Ken lights, multi-tools, and then you go to the DPR, they look like the gypsies of the military world.
They look like they got their fatigues from the secondhand shop nearby for
Exactly.
airsoft. Look, they look like they're playing airsoft. It
Yeah.
doesn't take you to be an expert in the military field. People ask you, how do you know? How do you know? Look, if you just spend a little bit of time in the military and you like what you do, meaning you research, meaning you buy gear for yourself and stuff, you're going to be easily able to collect valuable intelligence on who's handling you
Mm.
and what in what team. Easy, you know. It's
Easy,
not
yeah.
something like rocket science.
And the longer you're in
Yeah.
country, that's easier it gets. But I'm more interested in, so you were handed over to, would you say, interrogated by prosecutors of Russia, not the Donetsk People's Republic, as they were pushing the narrative on us?
So in the beginning, it was full Russians. You know that actually, and you remember clearly that when Russians show up somewhere, the DPR Mobics shut up, no matter their rank, no matter anything. They're
Yeah.
like second-class citizens. So when the Russians show up, so this is the thing. Russians found very good interest in me in the beginning. So every time they showed up to the black site for me, and I remember for you as well, they showed up. And every time they showed up, the Mobics line up and never say a single word. So I get interrogated fully by the Russians, FSB and Army, not the DNR. The DNR
Mm.
actually didn't get a piece of me until I get to the prosecutor's office later on. That's where I get,
Same as me, yeah.
yeah.
Same as me, yeah. It was all initially run by the FSB and then Russian soldiers who knew. I suspect they were probably military police or something like that.
Yep.
Who
Военная полиция,
did all
yes, I
the
think military
nasty,
police.
yeah, the electrocutions and stuff like that. I didn't actually see a Russian prosecutor because they think so many people had seen them. The minute they worked out we were contract soldiers, went, ooh, I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And I think that changed. And in those 7 days, they decided to use us for Victor Medvedchuk, the exchange for Victor Medvedchuk. So
yep.
we knew quite early on that we were being pelted and pumped for propaganda
Exchange.
and exchange.
So the value get right, so they can get the most out of us. Yeah.
Describe your isolation tale. What was your feelings of the isolation tale and
Alone?
I was climbing the walls.
At some point, it starts to really screw with your head a little bit because, dude, no matter what you say, you're introverted, extroverted. Humans are social creatures, and when you lack social, genuine human interaction, you start just to lose it a little bit. This is why, at times, if you remember, I started to listen at your cell, and I was just like laughing and listening, hearing you lap talk, and I was like, trying to
Yeah.
make you guys hear without making the guards hear that I'm here. You can guys speak to me, you know. So I was just trying to piece anything I get, any human interaction I get, because it was so long, such a long time. I think I was kept there in the solitary confinement cell for more than a month something,
Yeah,
2 months or
I
something.
think it sometimes seems longer than you do. I mean, until we must have been in the cell at least 3 or 4 weeks together, which was such a godsend. I think we'll end it on this first episode on this when we actually finally you moved in, because we had a guy called Ilya move out who was trialed, who was absolutely scared stiff, and 19-year-old train driver from
Train
Mariupol.
driver.
And he moved out. We never saw him again. And then obviously you came into the cell like a breath of fresh air. And it's like, I remember my room. I won't say
New meat
the
is in
name.
town.
Obviously, the guys are still in captivity, so I have to be careful about their real names. But I remember the guy in my cell going, "Does the Moroccan speak English?" And I went, "I don't know. I never spoken to him." He said, "But he was in your unit." And I was going, I didn't really speak to him. I think he speaks maybe French or Arabic or something, but I don't know if he speaks English. And when you rocked up in the cell, oh my God, did I get that wrong? English was like super good. You were on it, and I was like, "Have you been to America?" And you're going, "Nope."
I remember. Toby keep telling me I'm from the Bronx. I got the Bronx accent.
You got like a Bronx accent. Where have you been to America? No. I might want to
No.
tell you I've got some ADHD issues and I've got, I've been here. But didn't we catch up? I mean, we knew everything about each other. It sounds odd because I talk to people about the Gallows humor and about how we got through it with the humor.
Oh,
Uh,
for sure.
and then
For
obviously
sure.
talk about the shower incident because we'll end on a funny because it is depressing. It is serious subject to what we're talking about, and it gets emotional at the right times, which is normal. But
Oh.
we had some hilarious moments together in some of the dark
We
times.
we made it hilarious. Look, when you
Yeah,
have the right company around, even during wartime, with the right buddies, you can just turn anything into somewhat easier by using humor. That's
yeah,
what we used to
absolutely.
do. I mean, it was not fun when I didn't have the right company. When I was because I didn't agree much with the guys that were from the National Guard and stuff. It was not fun. It was not fun. I didn't laugh a single time.
Yeah,
But with you, when we met, we started to just have a laugh at everything because, like, it was a moment of fuck it. Like, we're just gonna get shot and killed. Who
any
cares at
day
this
we could be
point?
shot and killed. Yeah,
No,
so let's.
exactly. Just drag because the most we knew was just the guards coming and dragging us out of the cell. That was the maximum amount of intelligence we had. Is that how frequent are we getting dragged out of the cell? And when you get dragged out of the cell, anything can happen.
And it's every 2 days, isn't it? Every 2 or 3 days, we just
Yep.
get brought out, interrogated, interviewed, and it got a bit easier. But I mean, the shower incident,
Gradually decrease.
the shower incident. Just I tell everybody this humor about. We get told that we're going for the first shower and get ready to go, and then you edge out through the door with your hands behind your back and
Oh.
get beaten, the hood on, beaten up the
Oh
stairs,
yeah.
beaten along the stairs.
So with the shower,
Moving left, right, because you can't see anything.
with the shower, they tell you to get naked. So you walk upstairs barefoot, in a line of three with two of them screaming at you, and you're like just like crouched like this and hands behind your back upstairs, getting plastic bag on your head, being led up to this tiny ass shower place with like tiles and a washing machine, and then the guy is like standing like this, watching you, watching us naked, showering like little girls, and like the water barely coming out. If you remember, there's not even enough
Yeah,
water
yeah.
current, so we're like doing this as fast as
You have
possible,
15 minutes.
But 15 minutes, you more, 15 minutes only. You understand? And they just and this was just like, we're done. Okay, we're done. We're done. We're done. All right, plastic bag on, back in, and then you just get let down. You're wet, and you're just getting smacked, kicked.
Rammed into
You
doors.
grabbed, and he had a go at you as well. He loved you. He loved going
Yeah,
at you
yeah.
because he didn't speak Russian very well, so he loved
Yeah,
going
yeah,
at you.
yeah.
He kept repeating whatever you say. When you say "stupenki," "stupenki da," da, stupenki, he just beats you
Yeah,
up. He
yeah.
went downstairs, and the funny part is that actually it's not funny, but here we are again making things funny that aren't. They open the cell and they cram us inside by kicking us, just like sardines, like boom, boom, boom.
Dripping
Like,
wet, no towel, straight out the
yes.
shower.
Yep. So this is what they did, just kicking us in, and then they just like close the and then they close the cell, and then they're like they usually slam the cell and they say something and then they leave. And we're like, they're we remove the plastic bags and we look at each other and we're like, fuck, all the
That was
time.
that was intense.
Remember? That was intense for a shower, for a
For
15-minute
sure. And
shower.
you was
I'd
like,
rather not.
I think I'll skip the next shower day.
Yeah. Every time we said it, I remember
Oh,
for a
smiling.
15-minute shower.
And then
It was
somebody
not
would
worth
bang
it.
on the door going, stop laughing, or we'll make you stop
Yep.
laughing.
They had
Yeah.
the camera, if you remember, they had the camera right there, and it was just pointed right at our faces because the cell was so tiny. So the only thing, so it was us, the mattress, the mattress we're sitting
The
on,
mattress. Between
and
three.
yeah, between three and the shit bucket next to us, and the camera pointing at our faces, and that's pretty much about it. That's our setup.
And it's like
So,
I describe it as like go and live in a broom cupboard for 2 months and see how you
yep,
get on.
the
1 meter
stain
by
dust.
3 meters with three people in it.
dust. Water had like rust particles in it. If you remember, it
Oh
was
yeah, little wiggly
rusty.
worms and shit.
Yeah, Whaley. I was
All
wondering that
different,
they. I don't know
different shades of
where they got the
yellow.
water. Yeah, damn. I think that water was definitely did something wrong, and yeah, I'm kind of worried.
Well, we're going
Yeah,
to
very.
discuss our transfer, the trial, the next review. We'll do that in a couple of days, and we'll talk about the trial, the move to Makivka, then what you've been doing since the exchange and stuff, and then. But thanks very much, man. It's good to talk to you again, and we'll definitely get this
We'll catch
edited
up.
next week, and been a pleasure, man. So
It's
thanks for
been a
coming
pleasure,
on.
Shawnee.